Carrie knows what I'm talking about. That's when I went to work today. I am happy to be here. It's been a while since I've been on the 1 Million Cup stage. If you guys don't know me, I'm Justin. I'm one of the founders over at CoSchedule, a startup downtown who benefits from very things like this in our community. So I really appreciate you guys showing up and spurring on entrepreneurship and great ideas in our community. So I really appreciate it. Couple of announcements, housekeeping things, and I will try to get all of this and without forgetting anything. The first thing we want you to do is download and check in on the 1 Million Cups app. If you've got a smartphone, this really helps us out. Just kind of keep track of weekly attendance, but also send you reminders of speakers, and that way you can follow up, get speaker contact info, how to get in touch with them after the 1 Million Cup stage presentations. We also want to thank our sponsors. Everybody on the slide behind us either donates time, money, or resources to 1 Million Cups in some way. We just really appreciate all of those companies. So what is 1 Million Cups? Do we have any first-timers here? Any first-time 1 Million Cups attendees? Couple hands. Very cool. Did you get drug along by a friend? That's normal. It's kind of the 1 Million Cups thing to do, is to bring our friends. So keep doing that. But 1 Million Cups is all about spurring on innovation and creativity in our community by providing a free weekly program that gives a couple of startups or businesses a chance to pitch their idea or their project to a team or the community for advice and feedback and support, hopefully. So that's what this is all about, is just supporting each other. So we're glad you're here. And the 1 Million Cups name comes from this concept of, can we change the face of our community through 1 million cups of coffee? So for those first cuppers out there, get that second, third cup going. We need to drink a lot of coffee to do this. Remember, throughout today's entire day, we have the hashtag available on Twitter. So if you're on social media, you can use #1MCND and text in questions. So once we get our presenter Mike up here and he's talking, if you're thinking, hey, I got a good question, grab the phone, send it in. I think we've got somebody watching that. Okay, perfect. And they will ask the question for you. So if you're a little microphone shy, it's a good option. All right. Announcements, I think, is next, and I'm going to double check that I didn't miss anything. Nope, I didn't. So if you've got a community announcement, this is a time we just ask for people to come on up and just sort of like in a no sales pitch way, tell us about what's going on. If you've got events or community organized functions that you would like this group to know about, come on up right now. Do we have any this week? Kate's going to start us off. You can use this or that one.
Morning, everybody. I think we got that slide again. Jason, turkey leg. It's looking great. It is Street Fair week. Street Fair is Friday, Saturday. We have 180 vendors that are lining the streets of Bismarck. We have a lot of local nonprofits, booster clubs, churches selling lots of great food and arts and crafts. We're bringing the beer garden back to Street Fair, which is going to be in the BNC lot and doing some Oktoberfest things. We just got a lot going on for Street Fair. Reminder that the streets close Thursday at 5 p.m., so we don't want to tell you. There's 100 signs up right now in downtown Bismarck, so please use the parking ramps. Very convenient. You said no sales pitch, but I'm going to pitch. It's called a dilly dog. They're coming to Street Fair this year. It's new. It's a huge pickle. It's hollowed out. They shove a hot dog in it. Then they batter it and deep fry it like a corn dog. Dilly dog. So I don't know if it's real meat, but it should be real good. So this is a family event, so we're not going to do any of that. Go to downtown Bismarck.
Are you going to organize a dilly dog eating contest by chance at the street fair?
I don't know. I wouldn't advise that. Deep fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We got a lot of weird things. We got a lot of great things too, like Lefsa from the Prairie Rose Lions groups. Those things that you look forward to at the street fair. Big fundraiser for them. Big fundraiser for us. We'll have the map up today, downtownbismarck.com. So we hope to see you at street fair Friday and Saturday.
Hi everybody, I'm Lakin with the North Dakota Women's Business Center. I think we've got it, there it is. Our Women's Business Summit is coming up this year, and we're celebrating our 20th anniversary, not of the summit, but of the North Dakota Women's Business Center itself. So tickets are available at ndwomensbusinesssummit.com, and you can check there for more information. Early bird tickets are on sale till the 19th. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian. I am here for the Bismarck Marathon. The race this year is September 20th and 21st. The website is thebismarckmarathon.com. We are looking for runners. We're also looking for volunteers. Lots of races, lots of activities. There's a kids run and a dog run on Friday night. Should be fun. Come check that out. On Saturday, there's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, and a marathon relay. So something for everyone. The Bismarck Larks are a part of the program this year, so they're going to bring a lot of extra fun. I hear there's a beer garden. So that should attract many non-runners to the event as well. Again, we're looking for runners and volunteers, especially volunteers. We need a lot of help to make this event happen. We're still looking for people. TheBismarckMarathon.com. And if you are interested in volunteering, there is a button at the top of the page that says, you guessed it, volunteer. Punch the button, sign up, help us out. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. And I think I caught him say that beer drinkers aren't runners, which I don't know. It's true for me, so I'll take it.
I don't know. I drink beer and I run. So I
you
think
break the rules then.
I think it's perfect. They complement.
Just don't do them simultaneously. All right, everybody, I'm excited for what's next. Is that it for our announcements? It looks like it is. Perfect. So I get to introduce our speaker today. Mike Seminary is here from Disruptwell. Disruptwell is a nonprofit organization that provides a forum for hearing from local, regional, and national thought leaders regarding emerging technologies and the related impacts and opportunities. Founded in 2017, Disruptwell will hold its third summit September 17th. Hey, everybody, you know him, you love him. Welcome, Mike Seminary.
Hey, thank you. Well, good morning. Hey, before we do anything, let's have a moment of silence for all first responders, please. Thank you. The connection between running and beer and marathons is real. The first marathon was run because there were a bunch of people drinking beer, and then they challenged. I mean, that's just the way that works. Nobody would go run 26 miles unless a group of people said, let's drink a bunch of beer, and then let's see who can run. That's how that happens, right? Disruptwell. What I'm going to cover this morning, and it's a pleasure to be here, is the event this year. I'm going to cover why this came about and why I believe it's really important for us to pay attention to the impacts of everything that changes us, but particularly emerging technologies. Summit is a week from yesterday, BSC Energy Center. Go online, disruptwell.com, buy a ticket and come. None of this happens without really dedicated, passionate people that are a lot smarter than me and a lot more dedicated. And this is the team. These are the people, Evan and Janya Anderson from Gizmonix, Carl Sovak from the University of Mary, Marlo Anderson, the tech guy, guru guy, the guy that knows everything, Brian Ritter from Bismarck Chamber, these smart, fun, good-looking people want to be around seminary all the time. Deb Esslinger, I call it retired from the Idea Center. I still use Idea Center because I used to be one of the board of mentors. So when you're attached to something in the past, you kind of stay connected to what it was really called. Like I graduated from Morehead State University, not MSUM, whatever that is nowadays. Kevin Kading retired from DCN. And then finally, Connie and Kristen from the company I work for, Houston Engineering. These are the people that really make this thing work. This is the agenda. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm going to just highlight some of it. 5G panel. We're going to have a workforce development panel with Dr. Larry Scogan, entrepreneur Tommy Kenville, who I have the pleasure of serving with on the North Dakota Economic Development Foundation board. We'll have that meeting shortly after this one. And then one of my favorite educators on the planet, Dale Haroff from the Career Academy. Randy Rausch, a local guy. I just like saying his title, Industrial Internet of Things and Additive Manufacturing Architect for GE Global Research. Now, Randy is a Bismarck product, went to St. Mary's, then to Notre Dame, and he's doing some amazing things at GE. We'll have Sean Riley, Chief Information Officer. Heidi Steffes-Metz. She is a fascinating individual, entrepreneur, CEO and founder of Imani. And one of the things that she has done, she's developed a way to move currency from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, but particularly to the about 2.5 billion people on the planet that have no place to put currency. And if they carry it, it's life-threatening for them. She's a fascinating person. You really should come and see her. Asim Kashani from BNSF, General Director of Technology Services, and so much more. Women in STEM, it's a great lineup. Evan and Janya have done an amazing body of work for us. They, being entrepreneurs, were the ones that had the idea for the Innovation Challenge. It's the 3rd annual, as is the summit. And essentially what they've done is they've put together a process with partners from across the state to invite entrepreneurs. Somebody thinks they've got something that's beyond a proof of concept, frankly, that merits the attention of the committee that reviews it, that decides to move it forward to the competitive part of the Innovation Challenge, where they are potentially the winner of cash, and then they're all in front of, the day before the summit, potential investors, kind of like our version of Shark Tank. And for the past 3 years, we have been privileged to see wonderful ideas from incredibly talented people that are passionate about what they do, kind of like Carrie Warburg-Bach, one of my favorite entrepreneurs on the planet, by the way. Good morning, Carrie. Good to see you. And that's because of Evan and Johnny and what they've done. How did this get started? A little over 3 years ago, I was visiting with my former boss, Niles Hushka. When I worked at KLJ, one of the things that Niles and I did a lot of, and I still do, read a lot about trends and cutting-edge things. And back in those days, we were reading about emerging technologies. And we weren't talking about it a lot, kind of publicly at the time. It was more in think tanks and MIT and those kinds of institutions of higher education, obviously GE. And then we read a book called Race Against the Machines by Brynjolfsson and McAfee. And that caused us to start asking a lot of questions about how will our industry of civil engineering be impacted by technology. And so we just started reading a lot of various books and articles and exchanging ideas amongst ourselves, passing it on to members of the corporation. I left KLJ, was privileged to have an opportunity to go to work for another engineering company called Houston, where the CEO and I have had a relationship for some 50 years, and so I joined him. So back to Niles. One of the things that I was doing at our company, from time to time, Houston, I would bring people from the outside in to talk to our leadership about what's happening in their space. I told my CEO, Jeff, hey, I'm going to invite Niles to come in and talk to us. He kind of looked at me like, why would we bring the CEO of a competitor into our company to talk to us about engineering? And I said, it's because of the way he thinks. Niles comes and presents to our company. I asked him to do one thing after I reviewed his slide deck. I said, Niles, that's great stuff. Where we're going to go as an industry. Would you do me a favor and share from your perspective how you think emerging technologies will change engineering? Here's essentially what he told the entire group. He said, emerging technologies is going to make sure that, for the most part, we're gatekeepers for the industry. Were it not for the requirement to put a stamp from a human being on a set of plans, and only a PE can do that, a lot of us would be out of work. So I watched the faces of my colleagues in the room, and it was like, holy crap. That's as nice as I'm going to say that here. Holy crap. That was the look on everyone's faces. That's 3 years ago. 13 years ago, I didn't have one of these. I had a regular cell phone. I don't remember what it was, flip open, whatever it was. But 13 years ago, this thing came onto the market. And they just had their annual meeting yesterday talking about the new iPhones. Today, this thing has powerful apps. I can do just about anything I want. This thing today, I can summon my car, have it open the garage, and come to me. That's what emerging technologies is doing for all of us. It's an exciting time to be on the planet. And that's why we thought of Disruptwell. What are disruptive technologies? You can read that, but here's what they really are. They're going to change everything. That's what emerging technologies are going to do. They're going to change everything. Some things are going to be totally blown up. They're going to be changed forever. It's going to enable us to be more productive, more effective. It's going to be able to change how we educate each other and our kids and how we prepare for the future. Some of it's really, really exciting. Some of it's a little scary. Some of it is a little scary, and it needs to be a little scary because change should be a little scary for all of us. Here are the impacts. The next slide after this is from McKinsey Global. McKinsey Global is one of the finest consultants on the planet. They are scary smart people. In short, here's what they say. The impact starting in 2025, but they're already starting, will be somewhere around, just say pull a number, about $30 trillion globally every year, every single year. That's how big this business is of emerging technologies. Here are some of the buckets. There's about 11 or 12 of them. Mobile internet, automation of work, knowledge work, that's really artificial intelligence. Internet of Things, cloud technology, advanced robotics, autonomous or near-autonomous transportation, so on and so forth. It's big, big business, impacting everything. Again, McKinsey Global says $14 to $33 trillion. We're in the technology augmented age. Last month, at the annual American Bar Association meeting in San Francisco, they passed a resolution because we're in the technology and augmented age, dealing with artificial intelligence. I'm not going to read all of this. But it's urging the courts and lawyers to address the emerging ethical and legal issues relating to the usage of artificial intelligence. You know, I got to back up. This is not a new term to me. When I was a kid, people used to say about me, he's making stuff up. This is artificial intelligence right here. That's what people used to say about me when I was usually on probation or something else, or kicked out of school or something like that. Artificial intelligence, including bias, explainability, transparency of automated decisions made by AI, ethical and beneficial usage of AI, the controls and oversight of it. We clearly are on the cusp of an AI revolution. It promises to change not only the practice of law, but our economy as a whole. They define AI, the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. At its core, it encompasses tools that are trained rather than programmed. It involves teaching computers how to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence in interaction, such as perception, pattern recognition, and decision-making. Lawyers who do not adopt AI will be left behind. AI is already being used to predict the outcome of legislation through predictive analytics. Predictive analytics. It will also do all of the due diligence required. This is what I really love and why I said we should fear some of this. AI is being used to search company records. I'm going to pause here. Search company records. I have so much faith and trust and confidence in CEOs at Facebook, at Google. It's the same amount of trust and confidence I have of most people in Washington, D.C. Okay, I will turn back to what I was saying. To detect bad behavior preemptively. I'm going to read it again. AI is being used to search company records to detect bad behavior preemptively. AI is able to see beyond attempts to disguise wrongdoing and identify code words. AI will become more and more powerful, and it is increasingly becoming more sophisticated already. Finally, developing AI that can detect deception in the courtroom before it happens. That's one of the reasons we, this planning committee, 3 years ago, thought we should have a different type of conversation in our state, frankly, about this wonderful, wonderful place that we're going with regards to emerging technologies. No one could argue that life in many, many ways is being dramatically improved as improved technological advancements are given to us. Who wouldn't agree that a vehicle that can detect something in advance and slow your car down or move it out of the way of something is not beneficial? Who wouldn't agree that the medical community has greatly advanced its ability to detect and cure problems that are plaguing all of us? Who wouldn't agree that a company like the one that my daughter in Denver works for teaches online coding to people that want to learn that at a significantly reduced cost compared to somewhere else they could go? And they can do that globally. You can do it from wherever you want. Who wouldn't agree that technology enables someone in the city of Bismarck or the city of Almont or the city of Garrison to compete on a global basis with anybody in a major metropolitan area, attached or not, to higher education institutions? They can compete at the same level. We thought we should start having that kind of conversation about what's the place and role for Bismarck, moving those types of technological advances out of here and beyond. It doesn't have to be confined to somewhere else. And why can't we have a discussion here about how we can all participate in that, how we can all learn from that and make this a better place for us now and for the leaders of the future? That's really what Disruptwell is all about. We are in the technology and augmented age, and a lot of it's exciting. Some of it's a little concerning, I think, just a little.
With all this talk of technology, theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking, whom I'm sure you know, warned this week that technology could end up ending humanity at some point. Do you share that apocalyptic view of technology?
Well, I think it's something that it's not going to happen overnight. I do think we have to worry about it. I don't think it's inherent that as we create superintelligence that it will necessarily always have the same goals in mind that we do. You know, humans don't always have the same goal as other humans. So who gets control of the technology? How is it built in? I don't think there's a need to panic, but I think the dialogue along those levels, the people who say let's not worry at all, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
He knows what he's talking about, I think. He's a fairly accomplished fellow. 3 years ago, before our first summit, I thought it would be appropriate for me to have a ride in a Tesla, because Tesla really is kind of pointing the way for how transportation will transform our entire mobility ecosystem, frankly. It's already an iPad on wheels. And the competition moving forward will be who's going to control the iPad and the data that's required for the iPad, and then who's going to control the shell. And I needed to have a ride in an electrified iPad on wheels, so I called a friend of mine who has one. And so he picked me up at about 5:05 in the afternoon, downtown Bismarck. And then he took me onto I-94 so we could go across the bridge. And at that time, you might recall, that was the first time the construction project on I-94 bridge was taking place, and it slowed traffic to a crawl, especially at 5:15 in the afternoon. And as we approach the entrance to I-94, and he pushes a couple buttons, and I'm sitting there comfortably, and he takes his hand off the wheel, and that's, my sphincter tightened. I got to tell you, it did tighten up just a little bit. And I kind of got comfortable. I thought, this is pretty cool. And then I looked down the road 5 years saying to myself, because just the other day, my wife, Deb, the good-looking, the fun, really smart seminary sitting over there, we went to a Bison football game on Saturday. And then we came back. And then Sunday, from Bismarck, I had to go back to Minneapolis for a meeting and then come back. So I'm in the car a lot. And I thought to myself, it would be so nice to have the iPad on wheels where I can just work and really kind of not pay attention to what I'm doing. Back to my friend and his iPad on wheels. So we come back into the city, and we're on the far west side, east side on 26th, now at about 5:35, 45, something like that. We're at the red light there at Main and 26, and he says, Mike, I want you to sit back. So I sat back. He said, no, I want you to put your head against the headrest. As I did that, the light changed green, and he punches it. It went from 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. My hairpiece is still in the back seat of that vehicle. And at the time I was the mayor, I said, so-and-so, please never do that to me again while I'm in political office. Of course, I got beat. Now, I can get back in that car and do that anytime I want. I can even drive it now. But we should also be careful what we ask for as well.
When you're talking about superintelligent AI that can make changes to itself, it seems that we only have one chance to get the initial conditions right. And even then, we will need to absorb the economic and political consequences of getting them right. But the moment we admit that information processing is the source of intelligence, that some appropriate computational system is what the basis of intelligence is, and we admit that we will improve these systems continuously, and we admit that the horizon of cognition very likely far exceeds what we currently know, then we have to admit that we're in the process of building some sort of God. Now would be a good time to make sure it's a God we can live with.
So Sam is an atheist, doesn't believe in God, and he's an author and a blogger and very, very knowledgeable about emerging technologies and where we're going. And I always found that clip to be pretty interesting. So Disruptwell is a week from yesterday. We have an incredible lineup. We're really putting this together for us to have the types of conversations that put us in a position, and positioning is what life is all about, to put us in a position, so should we do this? How should we involve this piece of technology? How should we go about changing how we educate our kids? What kind of a business plan should we put forth that incorporates emerging technologies that will make us leaner, more efficient, more productive, more profitable? And that's why we put Disruptwell together. It's a week from yesterday. You can go on online, disruptwell.com. And now I'll sit down and take any questions that you have. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today.
Keep it going for Mike. All right, so we've got Tyler who's going to be running around to the microphone. If you guys have questions for Mike about Disruptwell or this emerging technology trend that he's been following for years now, raise that hand up in the air. Tyler will find you, and you'll be able to ask all of your questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. So it looks like we've got Kate with our first question. Go ahead, Kate.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for being here. You talked about kind of the fear of technology, and one of the things that seems to be driving some of that is humans' jobs being replaced by machines. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the challenges and opportunities in that space, how we're educating kids so that they don't get replaced by robots, or have a steady job coming up?
Thanks, Kate. It's a great question, and it's the answer for that is, fairly complex. I think as we look at the history of our country, we shouldn't overly fear the prospect of technology, first of all, improving the workplace, and then in time, maybe even replacing some of the jobs that we have. Because we as humans always find ways to create more opportunities for us. And that's one gift that we've been given by God that makes it really possible, at least for how I believe, makes it really possible for us to plan and prepare and forecast and envision. I think maybe another way to look at that question, by the way, is I think we need to have policymakers take a pause and reflect on some of the decisions they make with regards to what minimum wage is or isn't, and then at the same time wanting to penalize a company for incorporating technology into their operations, because it's kind of like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. I think we should be far more concerned right now about decisions that policymakers are making that might not be as grounded in what's best for us versus what's best for them. That's probably not what you were looking for, but that's what I wanted to say this morning.
Can I jump on and add a little bit of just personal thought to that? I think about this. I just had my 4th kid, and I think about what's the world going to look like when they're all in college and beyond. And it's often occurred to me that because of the speed of technology increasing so much more rapidly, doubling every, they still say 18 months, right? It makes me think that, if you go back 100 years, you could have worked the same job for 30 years before it was replaced by a bigger tractor or more automation or, equipment that could haul more so you needed less people or, any of the, the industrial revolutionary things that we came up with. It took a longer time. Like the time spans between massive milestones of innovation were longer, and those are getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, right? So now you've got a society where their kids might come in into the workforce and work a job for maybe 5, maybe 10 years in a singular kind of career path before it might get automated, and they have to switch. And so that you're going to see much more rapid, job change, and I think that makes me wonder, like, are we educating our kids correctly? I go back when I think of like the speed of technology, are we making sure that we're building a generation of people that can change easily, that are more so critical thinkers and problem solvers than trained in a trade that is the one thing they define themselves by. And so it's something as a parent I'm thinking about constantly is like, how do you build a generation that can handle what technology is going to throw at them when it comes to constantly changing, environment of workforce. So I'm excited by it, and I'm excited for questions for Mike around that. Topics of AI and super intelligence was mentioned in one of the videos. I think all of those are really interesting subjects I've spent some time on myself, and so I'm excited to see what kind of questions we have for Mike from the audience. So let's go to our next one. Go ahead.
While you're doing that, let me go back to one thing that Kate brought up, and you elaborated on it. And this is particularly relevant right now with regards to my older daughter, who's a very experiential person. I just admire her in terms of her boldness, and she has no fear of anything. I'm always suggesting to her, and you have to be careful as a dad how you do that, especially if you're the dad of a daughter, is that make sure you're always learning. You're always making yourself more marketable for what the next opportunity might be, because you might be forced to do it sooner than you wanted. And then follow up to Justin. So I need to know now the names of all your kids and put that stuff, because as I'm getting older and they're going to be working a long time, and I don't want to live a long time, I got to know who's going to make contributions to my Social Security.
So, Mike, great presentation. I've hired 20 millennials here in the last year and a half. And how do you balance, or what do you believe is the balance of technology and people skills? I mean, you shook my hand when I walked in this morning. There wouldn't have been one of my guys if you'd have walked in our office this morning that would have just taken that initiative. Hey, how you doing? You know, how do you think the balance and how young is too young for technology?
Well, I see a lot of kids that are 4 or 5, and they're already smarter than me, by the way. They're better with their iPhone than I am. They have more apps, and they know how to use them better than I ever will. I think that, first of all, Tom, that's a great question, very complex, I think. Some of that's going to be in a family, right? They're going to make decisions about how best to introduce technology to their kids. But it's everywhere, right? I mean, it's absolutely everywhere, and it's just going to be even more pervasive as we move forward, for better and sometimes maybe for worse. But to the core of your question, and what's likely been my strength, and for all of us, typically our strength can also be our Achilles heel. For me, it's always been who I know, what I know about them, treating people fairly, being very respectful, getting to know people. So if people are good at technology, and then they're also growing in their ability to use the soft skills that make people comfortable with them, I think that's the elixir that's going to be really powerful for the people that are looking for opportunities, and then the people that want to hire them to make their companies grow and more profitable. So if the question is what's the balance, we're people first. And the better we are at people's skills and being able to relate and be compassionate and kind and understanding and asking critical questions and listening, and then having technology on top of that, the better off we're all going to be.
I think, when I think about young people and technology specifically, it's a trend that I've noticed is that we're creating users. These kids are better at iPhones than we are, and I think that they're a great user of that phone. But if they had to fix it, I'm not sure they could. I think there is something that's a little bit getting sort of disconnected, is that sort of these things are getting so powerful, so smart, so complex, and they're becoming more and more reliable too, that we're getting more and more we're just becoming more and more users of them than the problem solver behind it. I give you an example of if you were a farmer 50 years ago, even 100 years ago, and something breaks down, you fixed it. You made the part, you machined it, you knew how it worked, you knew everything about it, you had to. You were not only a user of that thing, but you were a purveyor of its interworkings. You knew how everything worked. Even 30 years ago, if you really wanted to be into computers, you would oftentimes see people building them themselves. You'd see people going to meetups for Linux and sharing and collaborating on how these things were built and put together and worked. And I feel like that, providing opportunities for young kids to not just be users of technology, but to actually experience it hands-on and understand what makes it tick is actually the skill that's going to lead them into these, emerging technologies and the changes and being able to stay up to date with them, right? If we just make everybody really good users of them, life's going to just sort of happen to them, and they're not going to be able to maybe, keep up with it or take advantage of the opportunities more so. Mm-hmm. Where if you give that broken toaster to your kid to let him take it apart, like I did as a kid, you start asking deeper questions about why is this the way it is, and those are the kinds of things and thought-provoking stuff that will sort of take you through all of the different changes that I think that are to come. But yeah, so it's I don't know. There's a lot for me to unpack there as a parent, but I don't want to ramble. Let's keep going with questions here. Where's the next one?
Yeah, I have a question for you, and it's around the fear question. So what I've experienced is that there's fear out there of not only employees and such adopting change, but customers adopting the technology. And basically, the more they know about it, the more technologically advanced they are, the more fearful they are because they know a little bit about it. So I guess my question is, how do we educate people about the steps we've taken to make it secure? It's very complicated, the steps you take to make it secure. and the things you've done so that, for instance, we encrypt their data and they don't have to worry about it going out, you know, to the wrong hands or whatever. I guess I haven't had a very good understanding of how to educate the users, the customers, on how this is a safe technology and going forward. Does that make sense?
Sure, it's a great question. What's your name?
Paul.
Paul. Thanks, Paul. I don't remember if it was Ronald Reagan or Bill Clinton, whoever it was, but somebody said trust but verify, right? And first of all, I think that's a good policy for everyone to have. Trust but verify. And as I say that, I want you to know there are very few people I trust because we're people. But it doesn't prevent me from getting to know people and learning about them and adapting that natural thing that I have so that we can build relationships. Part of your question, I think, is being unfolded, at least the answer unfolded for us all publicly, where the emperor's clothes is kind of coming off. We all, you know, when we accept some app or whatever new thing is on our iPad or our iPhone or our computer, and we're asked to either click to accept or to not. Nobody reads the 752 pages of that stuff, right? And what we're learning now is they say, well, hey, you're the one that decided to accept that. I bring that up because I believe we all should have a little bit of distrust when it comes to how certain forms of technology are being sold to us. That said, I am a firm believer that emerging technology is a wonderful thing. It, in large part, is going to be really significant in terms of opportunity for everyone on the planet. It's going to provide new careers for people. It's going to provide new ways of absorbing information that's useful, some not. It's going to change how we educate our kids and prepare for the future. But so to your question, Paul, I think it's okay for us to be a little fearful because history tells us that sometimes humans can let us down for whatever reason, because we all have flaws, right? That's a long answer to your question, and it's probably more personal about how I look at all this stuff. And I'm comfortable with that.
Don, go ahead.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Don.
Nice
How
to
are
see you. Good. Thank you.
So
Thanks
you
for
got
being
beer
here.
downtown this weekend, huh? Mm-hmm. And a marathon and.
Next week's the marathon.
Okay.
But that's
All
all
right.
right. Pretty close.
Oh, but wait, wieners stuffed into a pickle.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
it.
deep fat fried.
Going back to Disruptwell, the event a little bit, can you talk a little bit about the Disruptive Innovation Challenge and who's been in that challenge in the past? Oh.
Okay, so yeah, come on up. As I said, the smart, good-looking, fun seminary. Why she's coming up, what I'll say is that Evan and Johnny have for 3 years now have done a great job, and they've had partners help them. They screen candidates and move them forward. They all, by the way, all those that are moved forward to the day of the summit, that we give them a professional video that they can use to go out and market themselves or in front of potential investors. And Deb probably knows who some of the people of the past are that participated.
So I know that most of the winners have been here at 1 Million Cups on this stage. Peter with WalkSmart was here. And what we do is we pick winners and then we bring them to the summit and then we vote on a people's choice. So everybody's a winner that gets there, and then we have a people's choice. That year, the people's choice winner was Nordic Steel, and I know he was just here recently also, correct? And he just won something in Mandan. So he's doing well. I mean, it's an exciting story. Last year, everyone that won was from the eastern part of the state, and the People's Choice winner was Bushel. And I know he's been here also. So, does that help? Okay.
And by the way, they also make Bushel beer.
All right, keep the questions coming in. There's an interesting thought in one of the videos that talks about superintelligence and this idea that technology will someday outpace, our ability to sort of keep up with it. I think that that's a fascinating topic, one that you could spend an entire 1 million cups on. I know that I've spent some time looking at Ray Kurzweil's, thoughts on the point of singularity. Have you spent much time thinking about what the impact of that, or even if it's possible that someday we might be living in a world where technology has become so radically advanced, and it's not only advanced, but it's improving at a pace that's we're no longer as humans able to keep up with, and what those implications look like, or will we always have a handle on it?
Great question, Justin, and I think that in part is probably why the American Bar Association is undertaking this resolution to broadly look at what could the possible implications be. We've had plenty of people, Sam Harris, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. In fact, Elon Musk was asked the question about that by our governor at the governor's conference 3 years ago, because Elon was originally with PayPal, right, or something like that. Yep. And our governor asked him about autonomous transportation, artificial intelligence, and should we be concerned that once we get to that place where we have fully autonomous vehicles and we could have fleets, and let's say there's a state that has a fleet of vehicles, that someone could hijack that. And what are your thoughts about that, Mr. Musk, based on your experience at PayPal, et cetera, with regards to hacking and intellectual theft of property, that kind of thing, property theft? He said, I fear that. In short, is what is his response. And I think that's a good, healthy way to look at what technology could possibly become were to go completely unchecked by us, that are going to have to live with consequences either by not fully vetting ideas and implications or fully vetting them. So I go back to that, if we put in the right kind of fail-safe or mechanisms to closely monitor and have some control, I think that's the right way to approach it. Because I do believe that the ability of machines now to communicate with other machines and create on their own algorithms to produce what they believe will be a good outcome, we're there. And we should closely monitor how that gets played out.
Very good. We've got another question in the audience.
With these fail-safes that you talk about, Mike, when we have hundreds of different countries that play by different rules and everything, how do you incorporate fail-safes like that? I work in the medical area, and they're already talking about chips. They're running prototypes in the Netherlands and other places to where a person could swallow a pill, and it'll be in their stomach 3 to 5 years. It can monitor your vitals 24/7, to where nurses and things wouldn't have to do it. Sounds like a great deal, but what else can they put in there? They've talked about chips having something under the skin to where it could have the credit card numbers to where a person just waves their hand and it goes. So with all these countries involved in this technology, how can you proactively, how can one talk about these fail-safes ahead of time? So many times we have like the back page to where it's in place for years, bad things happen, and then legislation comes about.
Good question,
speak to
Mike.
that a little bit?
So we can only control what we can control. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we have the conversation very transparently and publicly about the good and the potential downfalls of anything for that matter. But here today we're talking about emerging technologies. And then we also make sure that we elect leaders that will stay true to those things that we ask them to do. And I don't want to make this a political statement. I'm thankful right now that one thing this president is doing, amongst a lot of things that I don't care for at all, I'm very thankful that he's having all of us look very closely at how historically our relationship with China has put us into some awkward places, and that they have been able to do some of the things that they've done, which is a fact, that is not in our best interests. And so to your point, Mike, there are plenty of countries and others that may want to move in a way that is not in the best interests of everyone. So we need to find a way to have a global conversation. And obviously that's going to be very hard, and that's why I opened up with we can only control what we can control, and right now that's here, right? Thank you.
I think that wraps. Oh, we've got one more here. Okay, another question. Go ahead.
One more question. This one's from Twitter, Mike, and it reads, what positive unexpected surprises have come from the past 3 years of Disruptwell?
What positive unexpected? How can I answer that? If they're unexpected. What have already happened, okay.
Yes.
Well, this is personal, and so I don't want to speak for the group. So, we have a planning organization team, and then they formed a nonprofit, and there's some crossover, right? And we formed a nonprofit so if people elect to, it could be self-perpetuating, and we raise money for it, right? And then we try to make it non-political as possible. I believe that we are having in our community a completely different type of discussion when it comes to emerging technologies, about the wonderment of where we'll go, and then some of the concerns we'll have. Secondly, one of the other reasons, and this was real personal, one of the other reasons I wanted to form some type of a venue like this where we could have these conversations is I was kind of tired of it always taking place in Fargo or Grand Forks, and that our governor or governors or our federal congressional delegation and others always thought if it has something to do with technology, that discussion should always take place in Fargo or Grand Forks. And that kind of just was pissing me off. And so I now believe that we have a far more important conversation in the state that's taking place anywhere else. And I think proof of that is about 2 weeks ago, I received a call from somebody else in the city of Minneapolis and said, there's nothing like Disruptwell in Minneapolis. Can we talk about having one in Minneapolis? So I think we're doing exactly what we need to do to elevate the kind of conversations and discussions we should have about having as productive a future as possible. Thanks for the question. And Disruptwell is next Tuesday, disruptwell.com. No ads.
And I was going to ask Kate to do the last question we always ask at 1 Million Cups, if we still do that. Let's do it.
Thanks, Mike, so much for being here and talking about Disruptwell. We always ask the same last question at 1 Million Cups, which is how can we, as the Bismarck Mandan 1 Million Cups community, help Disruptwell succeed?
I think continuing to do what you do every single Wednesday is exactly what should be done. Obviously, I would like you all to attend, but this forum that was started 5 years ago now.
At least 6, yeah, at least 6.
This is where the grassroots kind of things are making such a great difference, and I appreciate you so much for doing it, and I'm very supportive, and just keep doing this.
Very good. All right, everyone, let's appreciate Mike.
Thank you.
As always, thanks to our audience for coming every Wednesday and supporting 1 Million Cups. If you have presenter ideas, you can go to the website and submit those ideas, or talk to Tyler, who's right up front here as well. He can get you hooked into our presenter lineup. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next Wednesday. Wow.